What's up, guys? Mason the Brock Henderson here, and this is Jessica Jones, Season 2, Episode 4, God Help the Hobo. What an interesting title. But this one, it's starting to get pretty good overall. You can see where everything's coming about a mile away. You can see whenever that one guy is stealing the stuff out of Jessica's office, he's going to be working for Chang. Whenever that woman drops down from the street and kills him, that Jessica's going to be framed for it. There's a lot of these plot points that are really pretty obvious, but I will say overall, I'm still really enjoying the story, and there are certain things that they're doing that I feel like it's good. It's good decisions, it's good writing as well. One of my favorite parts of this episode is finally the Hispanic guy wises up and realizes what's going on, because his son, being a little idiot that he is, goes into Jessica's place whenever he and the Oscar, I think is his name. I guess him and his ex-wife probably are fighting because apparently they're fighting over custody of Vito the kid. And so Vito goes into Jessica's office and he's like, "Hey, if I were to jump out of this window, would you catch me?" Standing in an open window frame. And his mom yells at him, he slips, and then she catches him. And so she catches him, and the mom is like, "What are you doing? Are you crazy? See, this is why I can't let you have him." Just because he saved your son's life. And then even Oscar's like, I told you, you're done, 22 days. I'm just like, she saved your son's life. Could you not see that he was already in the window frame and she caught him before he slipped and fell? Are you just blind? Did you look up and see your son in the window frame, and then all of a sudden you see her holding him outside the window frame, and just for some reason your mind shut off for a second, and then when it clicked back on, you're like, "Oh, she's holding him outside the window. I guess that means that, he must have been thrown out the window by her." Hello? But thankfully, Vito does tell Oscar what happened, and so he sort of makes up with Jessica. They have a chance to talk. We find out that apparently he doesn't have a thing against powered people. He just doesn't like Jessica, which does make sense. But what's funny is they start making out. I'm just like, "Oh, here we go again." And then she starts taking his pants off. And she's like, "Whoa, whoa, whoa, hang on. What are you doing?" And she's like, "What? You just said that you hated me a little while ago." She's like, "Yeah, you were about to evict me a little while ago." He's like, "No, this isn't right. This isn't normal." I'm like, "Thank you. Someone finally says it. Sleeping with a random guy just out of nowhere is not a normal thing. And yet, for some reason, that happens a lot in this show." Jessica meets some guy and all of a sudden hooked up with him a few hours later. In fact, it happens a lot in these Netflix shows. It feels like a guy and a girl meet each other. They're both good looking. They say a few lines. They're having sex. I'm just like, that's not how it works in real life. That's just not how things go. Maybe that's how it goes for some people, but overall, on an average basis, you're not going to have that happen a lot. I'm just like, thank you. Someone finally says it's not normal to just meet someone, all of a sudden they're talking, and all of a sudden they're having sex. That's just not a normal thing. So that was one of the more refreshing parts of the episode. But with that, there also comes some frustrating moments too. The stuff with Jerry, honestly, is still just kind of pointless right now. She's dealing with the whole ALS thing. She goes to her doctor trying to get some meds, and the doctor's like, "I'm not prescribing you anything." So then she's all, "Oh, I'm gonna just buy it from somebody in Amsterdam then." And the doctor's like, "Look, I'd help you if I could, but I just can't." And she's like, "Oh, you're useless." And then she's looking at prescriptions later. What's this all leading to? I don't know. Besides the fact that Jerry is a character in the Jessica Jones series, she has no other relation to the main story right now. Even with Chang and what he's trying to do to throw Jessica off of her game, even Jerry's not involved in that anymore. She kind of lets him go. So she really has no point to the plot right now, except for the fact of what she's going through. But I don't really care about Jerry. So every scene that's spent with her doing her medicine stuff, it just feels kind of like wasted time to me. So that's kind of frustrating. The stuff with Trish right now is pretty frustrating because it seems like she can't really make up her mind on certain things. She's telling Jess not to do certain things, but then all of a sudden at the end of the episode, she's taking whatever Simpson was taking. and that turns her into kind of an angry person, and then she ends up getting arrested with Jessica because she gets pissed off and like shoves a cop, and I'm just sitting here thinking to myself, wow, yeah, you are definitely a good role model for Jess. It's one of those things where she's kind of a almost, what's the word I'm looking for? Like an oxymoron, almost. Emphasis on the moron, because she says one thing but she does something else. She tells Jess to calm down, tells Jess to think about what she's doing, not just rush into a situation, but then when they're in a situation where all she has to do is just use this little zapping thing to stop the superpowered person they're possibly going to face, instead of just doing that, she then takes whatever that is, and that causes her to lose her mind. It causes her to zap someone who's not superpowered, and then it causes her to get herself arrested. I mean, you're pretty much just doing everything that you've been trying to tell Jess not to do this entire episode. So, do you not see the irony? Do you not see how frustrating that is? I realize it's part of her character, but it's a very frustrating part of her character. And whenever that part of her pops out, I get very frustrated. Another frustrating thing is it turns out Griffin might possibly be working for the bad guys. I hope that's not the case, because that sort of popped into my mind early in this episode. Like, because all I could think whenever he and Trish were together in bed, I'm thinking to myself, okay, really he's had no reason to be on the show aside from the fact that, oh, he's with Trish now. So I'm worried because I don't remember him from the first season. He might have been there, but I don't remember it. So I'm worried that they just brought him into the season just to be the bad guy that's dating Trish, to throw her off. But we already kind of had that in the first season, where Simpson and Trish were a thing, and then Simpson turned out to kind of be a bad guy, more like an antagonistical character. So let's not do that again. She even says, I have terrible taste in men. I'm just like, please don't actually go that route. That would be way too cliche and way too obvious. I'm just hoping that whoever he's talking to, maybe it's just something he's setting up, like a surprise party, and they're just trying to throw us off by making him seem suspicious. I would rather prefer that, even if it's something I just thought of, just because making him a bad guy would be way too obvious. And I mean, I feel like I've seen this in other shows before, where they'll have somebody pop up and start dating one of the main characters for no other reason than they turn out to be a bad guy later. I mean, I feel like every show at some point, every superhero show has had some sort of character like that. So I prefer they don't do that with Griffin. He seems, honestly, I prefer just keep him being the nice guy. I have no problem with that. One decent person with no history, no background in a show like this is very rare. So I want them to keep it that way, because it's like a breath of fresh air. Yes, I'm tired. Yes, I'm combining words. So I'm just going to go ahead and keep this moving along. I think that's about all that stood out in this episode. The rest of it, basic stuff you'd expect in most episodes. A lot of the searching around. I do like they're keeping the PI noir feel to it, which I do like. Where season 1 was more of a psychological thriller, this really does feel kind of like a classic noir sort of style theme to it. Now, it doesn't really feel like a mystery so far, but maybe we're going to get into that maybe a little bit later in the next couple episodes. But yeah, overall, it's still a good overall episode, and it's hopefully leading to some more stuff. So I'll see you guys at the next episode in just a second. Now, episode 5, The Octopus. So, this is by far my favorite episode of the season, for just one reason only. Trish finally slaps the crap out of her stupid ass mother. Yes! Oh, I could replay that scene just over and over, just whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. Oh, yes. Oh, it was so good. It was such a good scene. And I mean, I will say, I am a little disappointed, because whenever found out that Griffin was apparently setting up this whole proposal thing, I'm curious to find out if that's what he was making the suspicious secretive call about, or if that's what they're going to say it is, what they're going to try to make us think before they try to turn us around and say, oh no, he's actually a bad guy. Like I said, it kind of feels like they're still setting that up. I hope they don't. I hope he's just a good guy. But with that being said, though, I am a little disappointed that Trish has now sort of turned down a dark path. You know, she's taken that stuff more often that what's his name? What is his name? It starts with an S, I believe, and I've already forgotten it, even though I just said it in the last review. That's how my mind is shot right now. I'm barely keeping it together, guys. Like, okay. But yeah, the guy from last season that they had a thing, you know, yeah. She now has whatever he was taking to make himself stronger and more aware, but also it's causing her to be more angry, and it's having a really bad reaction as well. So I don't know if that has anything to do with why she turned down the proposal. Ultimately, she tells her mom that she doesn't want to be with him, she wants to be him. So that's why she turned it down. I don't understand why that means you still can't be with him. You know, and it's weird because most of the time when it comes to relationship stuff in superhero shows, most of the time I don't give a crap, you know, especially some of the shows that's the main focus where it's like, oh, you know, fighting and action and superheroing, that's all second nature. Who's she going to get with next? There are a lot of shows like that out there. For some reason in this one, I actually did want to see that happen just because, like I said in the last review or last episode review, Griffin honestly is a breath of fresh air into a very, very dark and grim show where everybody has secrets, everybody has a dark side. He doesn't seem like he does. And so to have that happen would have been, again, a breath of fresh air. You know, just all of this grim and dark stuff, and then a proposal happens and they get married and he turns out to be a great guy. And it's like, yes, that would be awesome. It would be something to sort of break the darkness of the show. But instead, she turns it down, and it kind of just more adds to the darkness of the show instead. So, on the one hand, I mean, it is fitting with the theme, it is fitting with how everything else in the show goes, but because it is so dark, I was just hoping for maybe a moment of brightness. You know, even when it first happened, I was kind of sitting there thinking, oh, this is pretty sweet, you know, and in the midst of all of this darkness going on, what a nice sweet scene. And then it gets cut off because you can see by her reactions she's not happy about it. I'm just like, oh, Trish, why? But aside from that, you know, the rest of this episode is very informative as far as IGH is concerned. You know, we see Jessica at the beginning is trying to, I guess, figure out how to work with other people because she does realize that the way she's going now, you know, pushing everybody away, it's sort of leading her down this path of she's going to go to jail, she's not going to get any help. And even the cop, when she's about to leave, is telling her, thank you for what you've done, you know, because he had to go through everything with Kilgrave, and after she took Kilgrave out, it stopped these nightmares that he was having about the gun in his hand pointed at his own head. I do like that. I like the fact that she got to see one of the benefits of her taking Kilgrave out, because all she's seen most of this season is the downside. You know, the people thinking that she's a killer, people thinking that she's a vigilante that's going to kill other people for them. All of that came from her killing Kilgrave. And so a lot of people have just been looking down on her, and she's been looking down on herself so much because of it. And so to finally have somebody who's like, thank you so much for taking him out because it saved me. You know, it saved me from all of the nightmares that I had because of what he did. It really is just a moment of, I guess, an awakening for her, an awakening within herself to see, okay, maybe I do need to trust other people. Maybe I do need to rely on others. And while it is a theme that I do feel like they tackled a bit in the first season, I'm glad that we're starting to, I guess, get away from the whole vigilante, lone wolf, I'm going to punch everything because I'm pissed storyline, which we've had for most of this season. So, very nice to get that. But overall, you know, this episode is mainly just continuing the story. You know, we see this guy who supposedly killed one of the women doctors that worked for IGH. Then Jessica goes to talk to him. Oscar forges an ID for her to get in, so thankfully that friendship is still going pretty strong. And probably a little bit more there. There's a little bit of flirting going on, but I'm glad it's just flirting. It's not the whole, oh, he comes over and then they sleep together and then they're doing all that behind his son's back. No, it feels very much how a normal relationship should work. They had that one moment when they were both drunk, but now they're taking it a bit slower, and it feels more realistic to me. And that's not something that I've thought a lot about when it comes to this show, is like realistic stuff. So overall, I mean, it was a very informative episode. We learned about this guy who is very into octopi, and then she goes and checks out the octopi exhibit at this aquarium, and then one of the doctors who she recognizes from her time at IGH shows up, and he's there with a woman who we've seen her kind of flip out a little bit in this episode. First, she burns everything to do with Jessica and IGH and all the clothes that were involved, and then she's playing this piano, which apparently calms her down, and this baby comes in crying, sets her off, and then she destroys the piano. She has to burn that. And then she shows up at the aquarium with the doctor that Jessica was trying to track down. So, kind of wondering how much he knows about what's going on with her, because it seemed like she was kind of living alone. So, where was he during all of that? But I am curious to see this whole thing with IGH and the experiments. We can see where this woman, whenever she gets mad, that's when this sort of rage and aggression releases in her. And we can even see that in Jessica as well. Whenever she gets pissed, she'll do something rash and stupid. So I'm wondering how much of these experiments cause that. And even this creature that people, what's his name, was talking about. Is it Wilson? I feel like it might be Wilson, but now I'm not sure. But the creature that killed him, that he was talking about, a monster that's tracking her down, how much of that is it's actually a monster, and how much of it is the experiments turned one of the people who were experimented on into a monster? So I'm wondering if maybe at some point Jessica, that monster inside of her, will release as well. And possibly there will be a moment where she does something that she doesn't even realize. It seems like that's kind of what might have happened to this Dave guy that she was talking to. Like, maybe he lost his mind, turned into the creature, and then killed this nurse that he had a crush on because she turned him down, type of thing. Maybe. I'm not entirely sure, and I'm really curious to see how much of what I'm thinking is right. And once again, the whole noir mystery kind of feel that this show has, the only thing that's been lacking is the mystery, and maybe this is part of it. Maybe we know that IGH has experimented on people. Maybe we know that they're trying to kill people to keep them quiet. But maybe the mystery here is, what exactly did IGH do? What exactly did they turn these people into? So, kind of where my mind is going right now. I'm not entirely sure if that's going to be the case or not, but hey, I'm looking forward to seeing what's going to happen next. So, one more episode to watch before I'm done with this section of the review, so I'll see you guys there in just a second. And last up, episode 6, FaceTime. They got me. They got me. I've been talking about, after watching The Punisher and then watching the season so far, I've been talking about, predictability, how a lot of this stuff that I'm seeing, I'm like, yeah, I see this coming a mile away. Never saw it coming. Persona 5 fans out there, you know exactly the song that's playing through my head right now. Yep. Yeah, so apparently this woman that Jessica's been taking on has been disguising herself and has these powers. Apparently it's her mom. Yeah. What a twist. I mean, I kind of had a sense, I think I may have actually mentioned this in one of the first ones, like, what if one of her family members, like, what if it's her brother that is the monster that's going around killing people, like, somehow he survived as well, and they experimented on him. So I had a sense that maybe one of her family members got experimented on, but I had no idea that this is going to turn out to be her mom. Like, that just just came out of nowhere. Because all of a sudden, like, she's walking downstairs and she's looking through stuff, then she picks up the picture, and it's a picture of her and her brother. I'm like, no, wait, what? Hang on. Is this going where I think it's going? And then sure enough, here comes the woman and takes off the wig, and she's like, it's me. I'm like, oh my god. So yeah, that was a nice little twist ending there. I don't know how it's going to play into the rest of this season, but I'm glad. I'm glad that finally something threw me off a little bit. I didn't expect it. I didn't expect that to happen. And especially not this early in the season. If it was going to be revealed that one of her family members was experimented on and turns out to be some superhuman like she is, I thought it was going to be like later down the season, like one of the last few episodes, and it turns out that they're the bad guy, and now she has to fight a family member. But right now, I don't really know where that's going to lead us, because now she's found out that her mom is the one that she's been tracking down. Yeah, it's an interesting twist. And on top of that, I mean, the fact that it is her mom, it kind of is going to throw into question everything she's been telling the police. Because even that one cop in the last episode was saying, oh, I know how you superpower people work. You all work together. So it is going to lean a little bit towards that idea that they do work together, since it is her mom. So I'll be curious to see how this is going to tie in with that side of the story. But overall, I mean, it was interesting to see her track down all these leads, track down the one guy and then go and talk to him, and then go and track down his son to get the information out of him to finally find the house where the doctor and her mom are hanging out. So I'll be really curious to see where that story is going. But it was really well done in this episode. It felt once again like we're watching a PI do her job, track down the leads. And I don't remember much of that from the first season. It probably did happen, but I just don't remember a lot of that happening in the first season. And I honestly haven't seen a whole lot of it this season so far. She seems very reactionary, which does sort of lend weight to the theory of whatever they did to her is causing her to be very emotional and just react to situations. But because she is a private investigator, I wanted to see a little bit more investigated. I want to see a little bit more like she's following clues and tracking down leads. And I don't remember much of that from the first season and this season. And so to see her sort of do that in this one, she's still doing the same thing she always does. She tracks down the lead and she uses whatever tactics she can to reach those goals. But I do like to watch her investigate. It is a lot of fun when we get into that side of things. Aside from that, though, the rest of this episode was pretty much basic stuff that I don't know, I'm not a big fan of. Finally they have her and Oscar hook up and they sleep together, and I'm just, after I've been talking about how I was so happy to finally have a relationship that felt normal. It wasn't just two people meet and then instantly they're hooking up and they're having sex, and then in this episode they're having sex. I'm just like, oh, never mind. This show thought, I thought for a second maybe this show was gonna twist up something, change up, actually have two normal people in a relationship. Nope. Because in this show, if you're not having sex, you're not actually in a relationship. You're just two people talking. Because that's all there is in relationships nowadays, right? On top of that, we also see Trish going further and further and further and further down the rabbit hole. She's honestly becoming my least favorite character on the show. She's turned into an addict with this stuff, whatever it is. On top of that, Jessica tells her that, oh, Malcolm clearly has a thing for you. So after she takes the stuff, after he brings it to her, then she ends up, having sex with him. So yeah, she's slowly just becoming one of the least likable characters in the entire Netflix Marvel universe. Because, she's becoming exactly what she didn't want to become, exactly what we saw last season from whatever the guy's name is that I forget now. And it's not that interesting. It's like watching him, but now in her shoes. And because it's a main character, now we see even more what this stuff is doing to her. And nobody's really catching on. Malcolm is just like, oh, she wants to sleep with me? Hell yeah, and doesn't care. Jessica, for some reason, can't catch the fact that something's wrong with her. And so nobody really notices, and she just continues to do her own thing and continues to lose herself. So I'm a little disappointed with Trish, and I don't know. I hope she has a turning around episode in the next couple, not let it stretch out all the way to the end of the season and then deal with it then. I'd prefer to just get it done now so we can focus more on the main story and less on her. And on that same topic, I kind of feel the same way about Jerry. You know, we see she's keeping this girl at her apartment as like a safe house type of thing. The girl, I don't really know her story, but she steals a bunch of stuff from Jerry and then uses that to, I think, purchase medication or something. I don't know exactly what was going on, but basically she was telling Jerry that there's a guy at IGH that was experimented on, and then he could heal people with just by touching them, but it affected him. Like, he couldn't do it all the time. So now she's going to tell Jerry about it, I guess, to try to get out of there. Honestly, I don't know. I don't know what this girl's story is. I thought she was going to be important. Now she feels less important because they are tackling other issues without her. And Jerry, like I said, I just haven't really been interested in her. It seemed like maybe this was going to be a way for her to get back into the main plot, but now it just kind of feels like, oh, they're focused on her ALS again. So, I don't know. Is she involved in the main plot? Is this going to affect anything, or is this just this girl trying to get out of there? I honestly have no idea. But with all that being said, I mean, the main story is still very interesting. I'm curious to see what's going to happen next with IGH and with all these experiments that have come out of IGH. I mean, there's a lot of stuff that still has yet to be focused on, and I hope it starts to get more focus as the season goes on and we start to take more focus off of the stories like Trish's and like Jerry's and like Malcolm's. You know, I don't really care as much about their little side stories. You know, I do like the characters, except for Trish right now. I do like all these characters, but I prefer to see them interacting in the main story, not having their own sort of stories keep getting thrown into the mix. And I do realize part of that is down to the fact that in these Netflix shows, they have to stretch it out over several episodes. They have to pad the runtime somehow. And so this is how they do it. You know, they have all these little side stories that keep popping up. So, yeah, I'll be curious to see how some of these end, if they do tie into the main story at all, or if some of them are just there for now to cause issues. But I do hope that there is a point. You know, it's not just some, oh yeah, this is what Trisha's going to be dealing with this season, and then eventually she's going to get over it. Now, I do hope it does tie into IGH somehow. But anyway, with all that being said, though, that's it for these 3 episodes. So let me know what you think down in the comment section below. What were your thoughts? Let me know. We can talk about and discuss all that good stuff. Leave a like and subscribe for future Jessica Jones reviews. I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace out.